On today's podcast episode, I'm going to do a little bit of a time travel. We are going to go back and think about all the things I did in the beginning of my business back in 2014 and what I might do differently if I were starting that business over today in 2026. So I've made kind of a hot list of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 things that I would have done differently if I were to start my business today. And I really want this to be hopefully a brainstorm or a way to kind of get your brain moving on how you can optimize your business to really adapt it for what brands need and what clients need in 2026. Also wanted to call out before we even get into the episode, if you're new here or this is your first time listening, this is the Kiss My Aesthetic podcast. We are available on YouTube and anywhere you listen to podcasts, and we would love if you'd send us a little follow. So subscribe to our channel, if you will. Find some time to just make sure that you're getting notifications when we drop episodes every Tuesday. Combination of solo episodes, expert episodes, client case studies, but really that weekly dose of inspiration for branding, marketing, and entrepreneurship. So let's get into it. Kiss my aesthetic, branding, marketing, entrepreneurship. Greetings and welcome back to the Kiss My Aesthetic podcast. If I have to think to my business and think about the business that I started in 2014 to now, it's changed greatly. In 2014, I started my business kind of on a dare from my parents of try it, and if it sucks, go find something else to do. So I didn't per se have a business plan. I didn't have a list of clients. I didn't even have a suite of services. I didn't even have a website. I just kind of started and said, you know what? I think I'm going to learn as I go, and I'll charge everyone $15 an hour, and I'll just start posting my work on Instagram, which was a great place to start. But now knowing what I know, I can think of 10 things that I would do differently if I were starting my business today. And the first thing I would recommend to anyone starting a business today is portfolio first, social second. No matter what, it's a good idea to chronicle the work that you do on a website that you own. As we know, social media platforms, you are victim to their algorithms, their functionality. They, in a sense, own your content. If you get locked out, if your account gets hacked, if everyone decides to stop using Instagram, for example, that all goes away. Versus prioritizing your portfolio first is a great way to get started. And I think most of the tips I'm going to share in this episode are going to be about more service-based businesses. Obviously, if you're a product-based business, there are some things that would change. But even in a product-based business, I would recommend getting that website up first. You can always change the domain. You can always change the branding on that profile. But my recommendation would be portfolio first, social media second, because you want your effort on social media to drive people back to your website. I can't tell you the number of times I've worked with someone at a company. They have then left that company or been laid off or moved on, and I had no way of contacting them once they were cut out of their email. If that person also had theirname.com as a website and were using it as a digital resume of sorts, digital portfolio, that would help them retain those connections. So there's a lot of functionality, portfolio first, social second. Even if you don't have any work to share, a website that is yourname.com, an about me section, a get in touch with me contact form, and even a things I'm interested in or stuff I know how to do would be a good page on your website. But lead first with your portfolio because everything can link back to your portfolio. And I think if I were to start my business today, if I had someone in my ear telling me what to do differently, it would be focus on your portfolio first. Even projects you did in school, personal projects, designing your friend's wedding invitation, redoing your room, exploring painting styles, reading a book, doing book reviews, movie reviews, anything that's interesting to you, find a way to let it live on a website. And then drive your social media to that website. That's my first recommendation for anyone starting a business today. The next recommendation for anyone that is starting a business now versus in 2014 would be to identify your referral network and nurture the people that can refer you the best. So if I could go back to my 21-year-old self and say, you need to figure out who's going to be a really good advocate for you, who's going to be able to refer you the most, and then keep those contacts close. Figure out who is the web design agency, who's the small business owner, the chamber of commerce, who could be the person that would be talking to people that could refer my service, refer my products to people. And I think early on, that was very much those early clients. So personal friends, referrals, maybe it's people from your alumni network or your sorority or anything like that that could vouch for, hey, this person has experience and could help you out. Those people, and keeping that list nice and close, making sure that you're texting them on their birthday and following them on social and keeping up with their lives and checking in on them every so often. Nurturing those top referrers and that referral network is going to be key, especially if maybe you're starting a business from you're leaving corporate to start a business. Who could be somebody that could vouch for your organization, your skill set, your style, and be the one to recommend you authentically when you're not in the room? So the first two tips, tip number one, portfolio first, social second. Tip number two, nurture those top referral partners in that referral network. Another way you can do this is kind of draw almost a web where you put your business at the middle, everyone who needs your business as all the branches off from that web, and then go one step further to say, who are the people that know those people? And how do I talk to that kind of outer ring that would be then know those people to then refer me to their business? So those are tips 1 and 2. The third tip that I would give anybody starting a new business today is contracts that expire. Contracts that expire, scope of work that expires. And not to be a gotcha person, but to create some parameters around your working relationship with a company. So contracts that expire, meaning here's even proposals that expire. Hey, you're interested in this business, you're interested in this service, great. This proposal is good for 60 days. If you've decided you don't want to move forward at the end of 60 days, that's totally fine. But fill out the contract form again or let me know and I will get you the most accurate pricing. Same with contracts. This is a 3-month contract, 6-month contract, 12-month contract, etc. If you can get people to commit to working with you, make sure there is an expiration date, there's a timeline where you could find that opportunity to then reevaluate the service that you provided. So proposals and contracts that expire. Proposals saying like, hey, if you're interested, this is what I could do for you, but it's only good for this amount of time. Also create some urgency. And then contracts that expire saying, okay, at the end of this 3 months or the end of 6 months or 12 months, we're going to take a look at this and see what worked and what didn't work and see, would you like to continue and renew your contract for that same amount of time? Or would you like to switch things up? And I think embedding that in your process as a service provider, key from the beginning. So portfolio first, social second, nurture your top referrers, contracts that expire, proposals that expire. My fourth tip is to be really kind to the clients that you love. And I know that should go without saying, but what that looks like from our side is grandfathering in their rate. If they decide to renew and they want to stick with you, find ways to give the people who stuck with you when you were green the best price possible, which kind of goes into another tip of mine, which you've heard me say on the podcast plenty of times, is realizing that doing something for the first time means that it is a risk for that client to hire you because you've not done it before. You're green, right? So risk versus reward. It is a risk for them to hire you. Therefore, they should not be paying top dollar until you have experience, but you have an opportunity to really blow it out of the water and crush it. But they're going to kind of be learning with you, right? Like maybe you don't have your processes down. Maybe you don't have your workflows in order, or you don't have your project management tools lined up. Whatever that looks like, right? You're going to learn by doing, but you have to realize that that's a risk for someone to hire you to do something you've never done before. The other way to think about this is find creative ideas for compensation. Of course, get paid for your time. Of course, you shouldn't have to go into debt to work for a client. But I am a really big fan these days of performance-based bonuses. So you have a base rate saying like, hey, this is what I'm charging you to do this. Can you find opportunities to say, hey, if one of your videos goes viral, can we get paid out a bonus? Hey, if we grow your account by X to Z in this number of days, could there be a financial incentive? Because if you win, we want to win. And that's going to incentivize us. And then it's really less of a risk on the client side because they're really only paying out extra if you are crushing, right? And that's a great goal to work towards. Also, working for equity. Maybe we need a podcast episode just about that. But again, finding creative ways to make income from client projects that's not just money in exchange for time, but money in exchange for ideas, money in exchange for effort, money in exchange for performance. I think those are really there's some fun to be had in that. And maybe not everybody can start from that from the beginning because you got to pay rent and groceries and gas and all these other things. But if you can give yourself flexibility, maybe you haven't left your old job yet, or you're living at home and so you don't have rent, but you can find ways to creatively compensate yourself for the skills that you're looking to learn and looking to grow in, would be a recommendation that I would have for someone starting a new business today. The next two also go hand in hand, which is I would really focus on testimonial-centric content when you're new. Who can you work with, and can you get them to talk about you, not just in their written Google review? Can you get them on video giving you a testimonial? Can you capture their authentic excitement when you show them what you've made? Can you showcase how excited they are or confident they are now that they've used your product or service? What are the ways that you can showcase not only can I do my job, but it can affect people in a way that affects their businesses, that makes their lives better? And really, really prioritize testimonials and testimonial content, but not in a way that looks like it can be faked. I think with AI right now and with just how easy it is to mislead people on the internet, one way that you're going to circumvent that is to have that person physically talk about what it is that you did for them. Have them on video, interview them, make sure you're finding ways to promote their content and vice versa. But focus on testimonial-centric content. Maybe it's screenshots of text or voice memos or whatever from real people. Being enthusiastic about what you did is going to help beget more projects. It's going to bring you more projects. The next part of that is surveys. And something that I've never done that I've always wanted to do is send an end of project survey to figure out what we could be better at and where we could improve. So making sure that you've got some survey in practice as part of your workflow. And honestly, that's a great thing to send at the end of that contract session, at the end of the 90 days or the end of 6 months, end of a year working together, end of a project working together. Hey, we had such a great time. We would love if you could write us a review, but also could you please fill out this survey and give us your unfiltered anonymous thoughts? They won't be anonymous because you'll know who it is by the time they fill out the survey. Nonetheless, because what I wish I had now in year 12 of my business are some of the stats of the impact of branding. Could we prompt clients to answer a survey question that could tally up the amount of revenue they've made since they rebranded with us, or the revenue increase percentage since they worked with us, or how many opportunities they got, or what their return customer rate was since they did the rebrand, or maybe it's their website traffic or their social traffic. I would love to plot those points over time to showcase not only have we designed, 350, 400 brands by now, but the brands that we did design have these types of results, because getting that empirical kind of data stuff is something I think our team lacks, but because it wasn't in practice from day one of our business. So I really wish surveys were more of a priority on the early days, because I think I also would have gotten feedback on how the process could have been better faster. So surveys and testimonials, definitely high priority for anyone starting a business today. The next few things are going to be about how to express yourself as a creative service member person, service provider, if you were to start your business today. I would recommend that you have some type of consistent schedule to share your knowledge, to create an encyclopedia of what you know. So if I were to start an Instagram account, a TikTok account, a YouTube channel, anything, I would start with those first few pieces of content being FAQs and how you would answer them. What does branding cost? What is a creative director? What's the difference between a brand designer and a logo designer? Start to create the content that someone could search for, and your content would be the answer. So I would kind of call that like an encyclopedia of what you know. Then once you've established baseline that you know how to talk about things, let's say you're a videographer, you're just getting started. Review lens types, review camera models. Say, hey, I'm going to go through and share why I rent this type of light and not that type of light, or what my gear setup is, or what it costs to put together a half-day shoot. Start with that encyclopedia of knowledge, because those are all videos that you can also send to clients in the inquiry phase. So if I'm a logo designer, maybe it's where I get my inspiration, how I design a logo, the programs that I use to design a logo, how long it takes to design a brand, what the investment is, like where I go for inspiration. Start to find those FAQs and make video content for that in a consistent way. Then the up level of that is something I wish I had done a long time ago. What is the paywalled version of that? So what is the public version? And then what's something that you'd put behind like a Substack newsletter, a Patreon account, a subscribers only feed, even your email newsletter? Could you find a way to put that into a webinar or a course or an online download resource? Having something that is a low ticket offer that is an explainer of what you know and how you know what you know would be something I would prioritize early if I were starting a brand today. The next one is prioritizing events and in person. We know that social media is important. We know that sharing your content online is important, but I think we still haven't bounced back 100% from COVID in that we have to prioritize talking to people in person. It's such a good exercise in getting your elevator pitch down, asking questions, collecting data, making FaceTime with people, actually understanding what they need and not trying to push your business, but trying to give them creative ideas or refer them to a friend. But events and in person give you an opportunity to connect and to gather that market research in a very tangible way, very quickly. Also, having a consistent presence at events helps you become more referable. I always joke about this being kind of the cartoon character version of yourself, like the Lizzie McGuire animated version of yourself, which is when I go to a networking event, I'm wearing yellow because my brand is yellow, my profile is yellow, my branding is yellow. So you're going to know when I'm at an event because I'm wearing yellow, and that's going to connect you to my brand online, my persona online with who I am in person at those events. In my daily life, am I wearing yellow every day? Absolutely not. But you bet your ass when I'm going to go represent my company, I'm going to do that on purpose because it's going to give that visual link. So it does help you extend that in-person experience to the online experience, to the service experience of being a part of your brand. And then the last recommendation I'll have of this list of 10 things I would do differently if I started my business today, it's to regularly schedule in for face-to-camera content. I think posting on social media consistently is important. I also think consistency in anything with your marketing is important, but making it part of a routine to have face-to-camera talking straight off the cuff, no special effects, no edits. Maybe it's day in the life. Maybe it's a case study project. Maybe it's a trend report, or you're commenting on something happening in pop culture that's relevant to your business. You're sharing something that you learned. Getting comfortable with looking straight into the camera, as I'm doing now if you're watching on YouTube, and talking about what you know, asking questions, sharing ideas is a skill set that I think every business owner needs because it's inevitably going to be part of your business. You're going to have clients, you're going to be interacting with them. Maybe you take a video call, you see them in person, da da da. How can you shorten that time span or shorten that distance between you and them by being regular at speaking into the camera? For me, that's the podcast, because the podcast is the most consistent thing that we do. We've been doing it for 5 years now. It is an episode every week. It has that consistency, and it's helped me so much in verbalizing and brainstorming and connecting with people because I know that this has to happen every week. Instagram, I'd be like, I don't know. I don't feel like posting on Instagram today. TikTok, I don't feel like posting on TikTok. But this skill set that I've gained from talking into camera by myself has helped greatly because it also helps me think about how I verbalize what it is that we do, verbalize how we're feeling, verbalize what's coming, verbalize all of this stuff that goes along with being a business owner. And I think the sooner you can do that as a business owner, especially as a freelancer and a creative, the better. Because I think no matter what you do as a service-based business or even as a product founder, your presence is going to be a part of that at some point. Even if you're the most behind the scenes person that's ever been, if you want opportunities, if you want to speak on panels, if you want to be invited to things, having a confidence and a presence in front of a camera, there's nothing like it. So that kind of recaps the 10 different things I would do differently if I started my business today that I wish someone maybe told me 12 years ago. And things that obviously throughout this episode, I explained that I'm still personally working on. Like a lot of this stuff, I'm like, oh yeah, I really should get my surveys going. But to recap from the top, portfolio first, social second, making sure that you own somewhere for your work, your bio, your contact form to live. You're not depending on the social media to be the end all be all for people to get in touch with you. Portfolio first, social second. Nurturing your top referrers and your referral network. figuring out who could talk about me in the room when I'm not there and bring me an opportunity. And how do I keep that person happy? How do I make sure that they know I'm thinking about them, that I'm rewarding that relationship, I'm pouring into that relationship, because that person is going to be the one to say to their hairdresser or their friend on their kid's soccer team or their neighbor, hey, you should work with so and so because they do a really great job. Number 3, contracts that expire, proposals that expire, so that you're giving yourself an opportunity to put some parameters on a working partnership, but also come back and say, hey, we crushed it for you. Now our rates are going to be XYZ, or now our service is going to be this. Alternatively, if it's not going well, it gives you that benchmark opportunity to say, okay, what's good and what's not so good about this situation? How can we make this adjust so that it works for you, client, or that it works for me? Find that opportunity to have the conversation, and an end date to your working relationship is a great way to do that. That said, however, think about grandfathering in the clients that you love. If there's someone that you're like, I just vibe with them, we get along, I love working for them, I love working on their project, find a way to give them a price break. Tell them, say, hey, I'm not going to raise your rates. Or, hey, if you guys can commit to 12 months with me, I'm totally fine sticking at this arrangement that we have. Or I want to give you a kickback fee for anybody that you refer to me. Find those clients that are the ones that you would go to the end of the earth for, and make sure that you are rewarding that relationship. There's a saying that's like, retention is way more cost effective than recruitment. And I really believe that. Like, trying to find somebody new versus keeping the people that you do have happy, the contacts that you do have happy, is much harder. So grandfathering in clients that you love, making sure that your contracts have that expiration, proposals have expirations, that you have that check-in opportunity to reevaluate the working partnership, something I wish I did way earlier. The next one, being really testimonial-centric. When you do work for someone, capitalize on the height of their excitement of the project by asking them to do a written testimonial. Even better, ask them to do a video testimonial. On top of that, recording your meetings and asking them, hey, I want to cut this together, or having in your contract that you're allowed to cut it together, to really capture that feeling of transformation that you were able to provide for them. Or maybe it's relief. Maybe you provide a service where people are, oh my gosh, this problem has been alleviated because of what you were able to do for me. That's another great one. Follow that up with a survey. I really wish that our team was better at sending surveys, even having a survey, to start to collect data that can then help in our sales process. So that if we said, like, majority of our clients that rebrand with us make back their investment in X number of days. I wish I had that number. I don't, because I didn't ask a survey and I'm not doing surveys regularly to get that information from clients. Surveys. Don't knock it till you try it. The next one, realizing that it is a risk for someone to hire you to do something that you've never done before, but it's also a great opportunity. So finding creative ways to be compensated based on performance could be something that you play with early on, especially if you have a little bit more of a safety net. So let's say you're a videographer, for example, you create a video and the video goes viral, and you have worked out with your client that if the video gets over 50,000 views, you get a payout. That's a great you win, I win situation. And then it incentivizes you as a videographer to make better videos that will get them, that client, closer to 50K views, right? Same for like follower growth or other KPIs or metrics. Something you could think about is, I don't know, if you like win a design award, that there's some kind of compensation share or profit share, split share on that, for example. Lots of creative ways to do that. I think asking for equity can be interesting, although it can be a little bit tricky to negotiate for equity. You have to have very clear terms, but figuring out in a way that you can make it win for both parties and find those creative compensation when you know you're doing something you've never done before. Like, charging market rate isn't going to work. You don't have any experience. So charge less than market rate, but give yourself those cash incentives to perform really well, and then be able to use that as case studies rolling forward. The next one, sharing consistently what you know, but also creating a paywalled level of what you know. So create content that's like an encyclopedia of your knowledge, and then create some kind of resource, paywall, Patreon, Substack, something, fan store, whatever, even webinar, that is the concentrated version of what you know. Because doing that consistently will also help to build your brand and help clients build trust in what it is that you offer. Events and in-person networking, paramount. make it a priority, make it a goal to go to 3 to 5 events a month, for example, and make sure that when you go there, you have an objective. Who am I trying to talk to? Who am I trying to connect with? What am I trying to say? Am I data gathering? Am I asking questions? Am I pitching myself? I would tread lightly on that one. But how can I also show up in a way that people can see me consistently? And maybe that's with color, maybe that's style, maybe that's what you bring with you, some kind of takeaway item, right? But being consistent with events and in person will only help to bolster your opportunities, bolster your brand. And then last but not least, regularly scheduling in face-to-camera content. Being proficient at explaining what you know and how you know it on camera is something that will serve every single person with a business in 2026. Because maybe you get asked to be on a podcast or a local news station. Maybe you're part of a campaign. Maybe you're doing just your founder video for your website. Being regular about sharing your face to camera content is something that I wish I had done a lot earlier. And it's something I think we do well because we have the podcast. That creates a framework for me to consistently talk to camera. And it is a skill set that takes time and effort and energy, but it's also such a great opportunity to grow. I can go back and look at old podcasts of myself and absolutely cringe at how soft-spoken and weirdly cautious I sound, how not like myself I sound. I feel like I'm putting on this professional voice that's not me at all. So I think it's fun to also look back on, and you learn a lot about yourself in the process, and you become a better speaker, you become more eloquent, you become more practiced when you do this type of thing consistently. So those are my tips. Again, those are 10 things I would do differently if I were to start my business again today. And I hope you loved it. If you enjoyed this episode, don't forget to subscribe on YouTube, find us on Spotify or anywhere you listen to podcasts, send it to a friend, save it, share it. Don't forget the show notes. We like to leave you lots of goodies in the show notes, including referral fees to companies that we love, maybe links to past episodes like my story or our services and how they work. Those would be great ones to go back and binge. And thanks so much for listening, guys. We'll catch you next week. Bye.